Do you need inspiration in the kitchen? So do I. But I'll help you start your cookbook collection today on Let's Celebrate TV. Hi everyone, welcome to today's Fast 5 episode of Let's Celebrate TV. I'm your host, Peter Lee. You know, everyone always asks me where I get my inspiration from for all of the parties and all the cooking and entertaining that I do. Well, of course, I'm always thinking about what am I going to cook next? What flavors can I put together and how can I make it interesting? You know, sometimes even I need a little help. So of course, I turn to my family's recipe box. These are all the recipes that my mother and aunts and grandmothers have passed down through the generations. You know, sometimes even these don't do it for me. And that's when I turn to my library of cookbooks. I have a pretty good sized library, and don't tell my husband I keep buying more. He hasn't noticed yet. But I have a good library. I seem to always have my favorite go-tos. Now I have here today a little selection of my library. Now when I first started cooking, I didn't know what things were. I didn't know what a roux was or about braising or blind baking. I knew how to do them, I just didn't know what they were called. My mother taught me how to make a roux, but that's not what she called it, so I had no idea. So of course, I turned to books. Now I found some cookbooks. Here are some that I had when I was very first cooking. Things like Campbell's and Hershey's and Philadelphia cream cheese. They had easy recipes and lots of pictures. But I also had some basic cookbooks too, which if you're a new cook, you might want to look into. So things like this from Taste of Home, or a baking cookbook that tells you all the basics, how to whip egg whites into a stiff peak or a soft peak, and all those little details. Now, as I've moved on over the years and my cooking has become more advanced, of course, my cookbooks have gotten a little fancier too. And even though I have a big library, I always have my few go-to cookbooks. This is my very first, always #1 cookbook that I go to. It was put out by Gourmet Magazine probably 20 years ago or more. And I've made most of the recipes in it multiple times. But it's brilliant. It has pictures, it has stories, and the recipes are easy to follow. Now, actually, that's the first thing I learned when I started cooking, was that if you can follow a recipe, you can cook. Keep that in mind. So this is my first go-to favorite. Of course, I have cookbooks just for cocktail food. I have cookbooks by celebrity chefs like Gordon Ramsay and the Two Fat Ladies and Ina Garten, the Barefoot Contessa. And I have this gem, the Fireside Cookbook. This was published, the copyright was 1949. It was my mother's. She got it as a wedding gift. And I've had it repaired, and it's crumbling, and it's wonderful, and the recipes are just fun. So where do I get all of these? Of course, you can get your cookbooks from the library, your local library. You can borrow them and probably photocopy some of the recipes, or just take a pen and paper and write them down. You can go to your local bookstore, or for gems like the Fireside Cookbook, go to yard sales, go to flea markets and Goodwill stores. You'll find some really great things there. And I'll bet you'll have as much fun as I do spreading the cookbooks out on the table, having a little glass of wine while you do it, and looking for that inspiration. There's so much fun on a rainy weekend afternoon, just having the cookbooks out, paging through them, and making up menus and getting inspiration. That's where my inspiration comes from, and hopefully yours will too. That's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, as always, you can watch our videos on youtube.com/Let's Celebrate TV. And remember, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, because we don't want you to ever miss an episode of Let's Celebrate TV. Now, I'll see you again next Tuesday at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Peter Lee. Cheers!